Welcome to Women of the Wise Path, a place for fostering open discussions about womanhood in our new world paradigm. We are a collective of holistic practitioners, coaches, and leaders devoted to supporting women as we navigate the shifting landscape of our times. Through conversations on health, culture, spirituality, motherhood, partnership, business, and transformation, we intend to spark connections, bridge generations, and share wisdom about what it means to support women of today. Welcome to Women of the Wise Path. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me with Polina Ruvinsky to discuss the importance of networking in women's professional and social arenas in today's reality. Polina is the founder of Hype HQ, the headquarters where women help women grow their visibility. Polina's mission is to cultivate a vibrant ecosystem where women unlock new opportunities, build meaningful connections, and celebrate their triumphs. Beyond her role as founder, Polina is a proud mom, an avid traveler, and a mentor, walking the talk of Hype HQ's mission every day. That's wonderful. Authentic every day. That's good to be
Every
focused on your
day.
mission. I love it. I really love it. So welcome,
That's the
Paulina.
hope. Thank you so much, Vivian.
No, of course, we all try to be authentic, to follow our mission,
Mhm.
but that's yeah. So, of
Yeah.
course, it's about women's networking, but I have to ask the basic question, of course, about the concept networking. Networking is very common today, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it used to be a business custom associated with happy hours after work. I remember the 90s, 2000, early 2000. Now, networking has become a business and social practice in its own way. We cannot develop our contacts or social circles or business relationship without networking. What does networking mean to you, and how has it evolved over time, according to you?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. I was in the corporate world for more than 20 years. So I also remember the days where you show up at an event and there is terrible food and you have to hand out your business card. This whole thing, I mean, I don't even have business cards now for years, but so this is what that word networking evokes for so many people, even now. But I do think that it's changed tremendously. I mean, one obvious thing is that so much of networking now happens online and not in person. And also that people are networking not just for business purposes, but to really just find connection and find like-minded people for them to interact with. And I mean, one of the things that's at the core of it is that we are all so hungry for connection, right? I think we talk about, what was it? The US Surgeon General said that loneliness is the new epidemic. And I think for people seeking just that connection, that often those types of events are what come to mind. And especially in my circles, being an entrepreneur and being in it by myself, I think so many are in the same place where instead of being in an office, they're sitting at home by themselves. And they really just they need that connection. They need the support of like-minded people, women in my case, and that's why I started Hype HQ. Um, but I think really beyond networking as a way to build, like a circle or a community. For me, it's so important to connect women for the purpose of us being able to kind of share and leverage our power, right? This is where uh, this is why my why for starting Hype HQ, because I have this vision of women saying, I will use my power for you, you use your power for me, and together, as when we were talking about 1 plus 1 equals 3 in that scenario where our power becomes exponential.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I like that.
I
I,
jumped
I,
right into that.
yeah, perfect, perfect.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to, I'm curious about when I interview people, I'm always curious about how did they come to do what they do.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
if there's a story behind, or it's just because you want to do things for women, or there is another story behind. How did you come to do what you do? Why did you leave corporation to do what you do?
Yeah, and so as I mentioned, more than 20 years, I was a software engineer.
Mm,
Then I led software engineering teams. And at the same time, I started a women in tech group in
mm,
where I worked. And this was really only to just get to know the women in my company, to get to know them more, because most of the time, you run into each other in the hallway and you have like 2 minutes to talk. And you want to get to know them more. And so I started doing these events. And what I really found was so much more than, hey, we got to know each other. I really found that when we were together in a room, there was like a energy, there was a power in there, there was learning from
mm,
each other, there was inspiration. And so I think we all walked away from it so much richer. And for me, that was so fulfilling. And so I really got this sense of this is what really this is what really feels meaningful to me. This bringing women together for all of our benefit and creating something that can really enrich the world, because what besides this beautiful side of it, I was also in my day job with these very male dominated spaces.
mhm.
And I was angry about how hard women had to work to just be taken seriously, and how the things we accomplished weren't celebrated and our leadership wasn't celebrated. And so kind of marrying those two ideas, right, really felt like my purpose. How do we get more women's messages out there, have our us be more celebrated, more featured, bring us together to leverage our collective power for each other, and how all of that could really shift the world that we
Mm.
live in. So, right, like the vision kept getting bigger.
Yes,
But yeah,
yes.
so ultimately, I just, during the pandemic, I had that moment of, what's really valuable for me, where do I want to be spending my days, my energy, and my time. And so yeah, so I left and I was trying to figure out how to bring this all to life. And then a couple of years later, Hype HQ came into being. So that's my story.
Oh, cool. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's cool. So, Hype HQ, then it's how would you describe it if women wants to join it? What makes your Hype HQ? And I see the logo is cool, it's cute. Yeah, what makes it different from other women's networking? Not different, like you have to be different, but what makes Hype HQ?
Yeah, I think the uniqueness of it is that it's it's a platform where you hype other women's work. And so what happens
Mm,
is that if someone's creating content for the purpose of building their business, building their brand, they need more eyeballs on that content, right? You know this,
yeah, yeah, I was,
as you
but yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And as you, so bringing women together who are committed to saying like, I will give you more engagement, you give me more engagement. There is a gamified element to make this more fun. So you can have, friendly competitions about who is the biggest hyper of the month. Um, and so that's kind of the unique piece of it. And then beyond that, having the community that helps you keep going when you're feeling deflated, or maybe things aren't going well in your business, or whatever you're doing. Perhaps you need a little bit of inspiration, you need some advice, you need others to just help you out, give you that sense of like you're not in it alone. And so that is the second element of it. So that it's really both. And to be totally transparent, I'm not always sure it's fulfilling my big vision, but it's a step in that direction. And, for me, I really felt like, okay, I needed to get this out there, bring it to life, and then continue to evolve until I really feel like it's bringing what I want into the world.
That's wonderful. And I told you already, that's what I loved when I was doing this with you, the group. I love that idea. And that brings me to the other question. But before I give you the question, is
Mhm.
the fact that women, you're describing your networking platform, and I'm like, you know what? I've never heard of a networking platform like that. So for me, it's already was what distinguishes you from the
Mhm.
regular, And that my next question about if you see any differences between regular networking, which is the number one explanation you give, and women's networking group. Meaning, what makes, according to you, women's networking group different from the regular networking? Why do women turn to women-focused networking in business? Because things
Mhm.
evolved. You yourself, you said it, and I do believe Hype HQ will be different in 5 years. It will be something even bigger, like a larger platform. But in that sense, what makes, according to you, what makes women's networking groups different from regular groups, and
Mhm.
why do you think women focus want more women's group?
Mhm. Yeah, for me, and some may think this is a generalization, but I think there's a lot to back this up. But I think women are more skilled in relationships and they understand the importance of relationships and they want to go deeper. So there's just this almost like an agreement between women that we're not going to stop at like, hey, I do this and here's my card.
Mm,
That we're going to just really get a little bit more vulnerable, be a little bit more authentic, and really build something a little bit deeper. I mean, even when I go to my own but also others networking, when you have some of these smaller breakout rooms, which, let me just pause and say, like, I wish all of these things could be in person, right? i
mhm,
i
yeah.
do love in-person connection so much more, and I know we all want more of that, but unfortunately our world doesn't always allow that, and our lives don't always allow that. But when you're in one of these breakout rooms and maybe they give you, like 5 minutes and say,
Mhm.
share your wins or something. This is kind of a common prompt that comes up. And I really find that right away, there's this understanding that we're not just there to say, like, I closed 10 sales, like that kind of thing. Right
Yes, yes,
away,
yes.
there are people who are saying something more vulnerable, like, oh, I've been struggling and I finally got there. Or there's
Mm,
this, like, they might even bring in something personal, which right away makes you be in their corner, right? Like they might say, I'm caring for my parents or something, so it's been hard to give the time
mm,
to my business, but something like that, right? And so right away, you feel like you know them a little bit more, you went a little bit deeper, and right away, I think this is the other thing that makes us different is that we want to help each other, right? There's
exactly.
some outliers, which I think we'll talk about. But when you're in those spaces, right away you have that sense of like, what can I do for you? Can I connect you with someone? Can I, right? So that to me is the thing that really makes it different and also makes it something that is meaningful for me, right? Like I don't really want to spend my time on that first type of networking. It's just very draining, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's the difference. That first type, very draining for me. I'm like an extroverted introvert. So those first things, oh, it's so draining. But these spaces just really give me energy, right? Because right away you see a human before you care about helping
Mhm.
them, you want, and you see others, jump in and saying, hey, I have this resource for you, or something like that, which
Mm,
that to me just brings me so much energy to see how capable we are of doing for each other and building these relationships and connections.
that's wonderful. Listening to you, I was thinking of, I've tried, like many people nowadays, different networking groups. As you know, we talked about that. And what strikes me is in those regular, what I call regular, meaning standard networking groups, whether it's business networking or something they call more conscious, even the word conscious, we're going to talk about it. But the thing for me is you always have a big percentage of people, entrepreneur, and I don't blame them, but they do networking to find clients
Mm,
instead of building relationship, you know. And even if people understand this group, it's about networking, make connection first. Yes, but there's this kind of default thing people always
yes.
look for, and that's for me a turn off, to tell the truth.
You know
But
what? I completely understand. I just actually went to something and someone reached out to me and said like, "Oh, so great to meet you. Let's talk one-on-one." And I said, "Okay, sure, let's talk one-on-one." And right away she said like, "Oh, and in preparation for this, please watch this video that talks about our offerings or something." And I
oh,
was like, "Really?" Like I thought we were it's I don't like to be sold to like that either. I'm
no,
sorry I
exactly.
interrupted you,
No,
but
no,
right
no, no,
away
no,
that
no,
made
no.
me think of this.
No,
This was it
exactly.
just came up. Yeah.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And what is also funny for me, well, my background is in Zen, as you know, but
Mhm.
I try to avoid the dualistic way of looking at things, and I know there's a difference, you know, with women groups or what I call regular groups. I don't even say male because it's just standard way of Western society of doing things, you know.
Mhm.
And let's
Mhm.
face it, even men are not really comfortable in that. They want also another way to relate to each other. So that's thing. But
Yeah.
with this new way of life that now it's a fact, we call it the awakening phase or conscious era or new paradigm, whatever the word you want to use, things are changing. We
Mhm.
say, for example, conscious business. What does it mean? Conscious living. What does it mean? You know, but in business also and in networking also is different.
Yeah.
So we see, I guess, because I drop many of networking groups, as I told you, but what does it mean networking now for people? I'm not asking you to answer for people, to be the spokesperson for people, but this is a question I would ask anyone who is in networking: is what does it mean networking?
Mhm.
And that I think is important for people to ask themselves when they join a group. You know, what am I looking for? Why am I doing networking?
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
and the thing I liked very much about HQ, Hype HQ, is this. You have to promote, not have like a duty, but you
Mhm.
have to talk about other women. You have to promote them. You have to talk about them in your own networks. So that's
Yes.
really something different from other network platform I've experienced. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, because yeah, I think it wakes up that sense of, again, like I was saying, doing something for each other. And
Hmm.
well, and you truly get, I mean, there's science behind this. We get a little dopamine hit from supporting someone. And, but then beyond that, you're taking a step towards building relationships and not just, doing something transactional, right? I think this
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
really like
Which,
that.
but it's interesting too because there's the point system and things like that. So it's almost like someone could say there's this, in a sense, a transaction, but it really is. It has like a hidden vein of really just being in service to others and helping others get their voice out or build their businesses.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah. And that's also interesting to hear that people talk about, how do they say? the feminine attitude in networking. And I
Mm,
found that funny because it has become, call it whatever you want, but this is what the conscious networking is. It's not just standard business. Okay, can you refer me to client? Do you know next week you have to give me two referrals? Or
uh-huh,
this
uh-huh.
very standard old fashioned way of networking. No, nowadays it's more inclusive, more discovering about
Mhm.
life and who we are, in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's really, again, there's psychology behind this. And
Mm.
in some other universe, I would have probably studied psychology because people fascinate me. But, they say that, right? But they say that people will do things like the intrinsic motivation versus extrinsic motivation, right? That when you're internally motivated by something that is, part of your value, or it gives you some positive feedback internally, those are the things that you're more motivated to do. But extrinsic motivation, as soon as you remove whatever the payoff, like, you don't want to do it anymore, right? So the point is to, even from the point of building a product, you have to find that way of creating that intrinsic motivation in people.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I we talked about that already, but I followed some non-leaders in women coaching industry,
Mm,
and they are right on many things. But one thing is about women are still holding back on things.
mm,
So that's part of my next question. So many leaders in the coaching industry, I'm sure you know names, but for me, two names that come up is Claire Zammit and Marianne Williamson,
mhm,
emphasize the importance of breaking free from outdated social and ideological constructs that have shaped our identities. Women, I'm talking about women identities.
mhm,
These deeply ingrained beliefs still hold many women back from reaching their full potential.
mhm,
Whether it's self-confidence, self-worth, or the, how do you say, the imposter syndrome, or I'm not enough, or all those things, limiting beliefs. Yeah. So this in turn prevents women, and I include myself in it, not prevents them from fully acquiring the benefits of networking. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, look, it's real. When I think about the things that the ways that we're socialized, and by the way, this is
Yeah.
across cultures, because again, I'm
Mm,
very interested in people across cultures. We're supposed to be, modest and quiet. When you think back to being a
yeah.
girl, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The things we're
Yeah.
rewarded for are this: be modest, be quiet, be perfect, don't take up too much space. All of these things are told to us, oh my God, from the time we're this big.
Mm,
And so is it a wonder that these things are deeply ingrained? No. And this is really, to me, one of the tools of the patriarchy, right? Like, as long as you keep women, you give them these message, they aren't able to fully embrace their power without doing a lot of work. And this is true. And so, to me, the main tools the patriarchy has is this, giving women this, like, be quiet, modest message. And then the other one is pitting women against each other, teaching
exactly.
women to see each other as competition or as enemies. And those are the two big tools that are incredibly effective. Like, those are the things that really keep us back. So, to me, finding your voice, being able to speak out, it takes work, right? So it's not as easy as say, like, why aren't you more confident? It goes much deeper. And so it does take work, and it does take, I think, having a community that backs you up. As soon as you see others being loud, you feel better being loud. And, I don't mean loud in a,
No, I understand.
but speaking out. And so to me, and as soon as you band together, you understand that, our power is exponential. So these are, if we can get beyond, like, first, if we could get to the point where we aren't teaching little girls this, which we still are,
Mhm,
unfortunately, but then
mhm.
it's like, okay, well, how do you then overcome it and then take full advantage of your power, our collective power, and, step away, be more focused on being courageous than perfect. And that's really, those are the things, like, if I look at the big picture, if I could find ways to shift that, I'm trying to find small ways to start shifting that's a real game changer to me. And it's no wonder that these are the tools the patriarchy uses. It's very effective, right? It's very effective. And we're so incredibly powerful that, they're right to be afraid of us, and to try to put us in
You're
a
funny.
box.
You're funny. They are
I
right
mean,
to be afraid of.
right? Like, I truly believe that.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
And
know
by
that
the way, like, that is even more for, like, older women, right? Like, that this is another thing I think about, because this is another thing when older women are kind of given that message of, like, okay, now fade into the background. Nobody wants to see you anymore. And that's because we only become more powerful with age, right? So we have tremendous
so
power,
true.
and they're afraid of
It's
us.
it's so true. I've read something by I mean, I don't know those big names in business, but it's a guy like Tony Robbins. It's not him, but it's someone
Hmm.
as well known as he is. And he said that women in their 60s and above should be leaders, ahead of countries because they have reached a point of wisdom and affirmative, you know
Hmm.
and that's so true. The only thing I would thank menopause for is that
Right?
you know
Right?
oh, you don't take shit anymore, you just
Exactly. It's like you
explode.
don't even give a shit. You're like, whatever. I don't.
I know. Exact,
Yeah.
exact,
And
yeah.
and and you're no longer interested in pleasing others and pleasing, being in that mindset of, like, how can I be?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Hmm.
another thing that come up when I was listening to you is the fact that I don't have kids. I don't have many nephews or nieces, I should say. I have a lot of nephews, but only one niece. The thing is, I'm not. Why I'm saying that is because I am not in touch with this younger generation, in the
Mm.
20s. But I am on social media like everybody, and I am surprised to see that some women's group, I'm not talking about networking, but women's group, young women in their 30s, early 30s, are so different. Meaning, what I would call, forgive me, but I can't find another word for that, aggressive,
Uh-huh.
in a way that it has nothing to do with gender. I'm just saying aggressive because you can see they are tired of being bullied in a way by society. So it
Mm-hmm.
comes out kind of aggressive. And I'm like, wow. So I guess what my,
Aggressive
my,
is
my
amazing.
question is, do you see any difference in women's networking about generations? Do you see a different attitude, or do you see anything like that, or it's not particularly?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of, like, thinking about the word aggressive, and I know you said that was just the word that came to mind, but it is a word that carries judgment, and so, I wonder, because I think it is, when we speak up, women are seen as aggressive, but also I
Mm,
know that, again, you are trying
mhm,
to,
mm.
you were trying to find the word, but uh, what I do think is that there is, working with younger women, there is more of a sense of, we have the right to take up space, right? Because this is one of the thing I think that women struggle with, is this idea of, like, oh, I should probably just be small and not make a fuss. But I do think that younger women are more comfortable with taking up space. So I think there is a shift. I think there's a shift in a few things. Also, there's more conversation with younger women of supporting each other and less of that kind of backbiting. So I mean, it's a
Mm,
slow shift, but I do
okay.
think there's something to it.
Okay. Because for me, aggressive was in a French sense, meaning it's a it's like and I guess it's part of this generation things, so it's beyond gender, it's a generation things, which is me, myself, and I, in a certain way, meaning
Yeah.
meaning like, for example, when I was teaching at university a long time ago, I had student women telling me, oh, Professor Casimir, there's no use anymore to talk about feminism, men do the same thing as we do. It's like
Mhm.
doing the dishes or cleaning the house is equal. No, we are not talking about that. So what I mean is that by saying aggressive is not the right term, but what I mean by that is it's like, be careful not to reverse things. Don't do
Ah,
don't do what men, the system used to do, but from a
mhm.
woman perspective. We don't
Uh-huh.
want to reverse thing. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I do.
it's in that sense I say, uh, I've heard women much younger than me say that they don't agree with feminism, and I'm like, okay, first maybe what do you understand from feminism?
Yes, let's
you know
define it.
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. So I mean, I don't want to talk about that, but what I mean is that I realize that there's a need, and I agree with this generation. My generation, also want to change. We are tired of this, but be careful not to reverse things. We don't want another polarity there. That's the
Yeah,
point. That's
I
exactly what I
absolutely
mean.
understand there. Yes, I mean, when you look at progress, usually it is a pendulum swinging too far here, too far
Yeah,
there. And that is something that, I mean, it tends to happen. But in the end, we want to find that balance and right.
exactly,
So we really want,
exactly.
we don't want to, because even when I look back at my early corporate career, in some ways, I kind of gave up being feminine, right? Started to model myself after the men that I saw around me. And when I went into leadership, and it was what a lot of women were doing at the time. But now we know that really the power is in my feminine energy. Like when I brought my energy in, it wasn't less powerful, it was more powerful in creating awesome outcomes. So, but I had to learn that the right way. But you're right, there is that the pendulum is swinging
No, exact.
maybe too far. We don't
And
know.
yeah, exact. We need to transmute. We need to, transcend those binary opposition, but not reverse things. You know,
Exactly,
in that sense.
exactly.
So, for what would be your advice or recommendation to women who join the networking group about, because you are an expert now, you can feel those who are still holding back or are not comfortable, or what would be your advice to help women come out of those limitations that they
Mhm.
may have?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably, well, the first thing I tell people who, for example, want to be more visible on LinkedIn or other
Hmm.
places, but I think it's the same idea, is that don't overthink it, right? Don't sit there and think, okay, let me make this just perfect and I'm not quite ready, right? Like this kind of thinking. So really, I think what our current age demands of us is that we just take steps before we're even ready, right? Like you might not feel
Mm,
confident, you might not feel like you're expert enough, but just take a step, and action breeds confidence, which breeds more action, which breeds more confidence. And so it's a cycle. So for me, it's taking those first steps, focusing on courage, don't overthink it, and just take a step, and then continue to go for, build on that, and make a commitment to do that consistently. And I think that
mhm.
those are, yeah, I think that would be the most basic and first advice that I would give. Even if, when I think back, aside from social media, or it's the same thing in corporate success, or when I think back to me before I started just doing things where I wasn't at all comfortable, I really didn't see myself the same way at all. And then once you start taking actions, all of a sudden you think, oh, I just did that. Okay. And then you take another action and you're like, wow, now I just did this. And then really your view of yourself changes through action. That's what I
Yeah.
believe.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I like when you said consistency.
Mm,
Be consistent. This is so true. It's like you make a step, things are opening. Don't sit and go back. No, no, no. Move
yes.
forward. Continue.
Yes.
Consistency. This is so true.
And this
Yeah.
is where, again, like being part of a community that supports that and promotes that is huge because you watch, and again, this is a psychology thing. We model ourselves from each other. This is a survival instinct that is deeply ingrained in people. So when you see others taking steps, you see their success, but their struggles, all of it, then next thing you know, you're feeling like, all right, I can do that. So I think it's
Yeah.
really a great recipe for collective success. And then again, it just builds on each other. It's that positive feedback loop that happens. You see some success, you take more action, someone else takes an action, you feel more brave and more bold. And so for me,
Mm,
that's really key.
that's interesting. Yeah. I remember my days when I was learning martial art uh, and 15 years ago. And when I started, and yeah, women, we were we were not comfortable, fighting, sparring, hitting each
Mhm.
other. Ah, we didn't like it so much. And the teacher, a male teacher, he was very nice. Huh? He was very clever, but he would push us. But what I mean is that I realized, and I was not the only one, the other women, at some point we talked about it. We realized, wow, we are so strong. When we banged the bags, and when we had to spar, with other guys for promotion, and you are in it in the fight, and ooh, women are so strong, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
love
then
this story.
no, but really, and the teacher was pushing us, come on, Vivian,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
let it out, you know? And at some
I
point, you're
love
like,
it.
okay, the teacher gave me the permission, so I'm going to do it,
Aha,
Boom,
you're
boom,
like
boom.
seeking permission. This is the other thing. We're
Yeah,
always seeking
yeah, because
permission.
we don't want to hurt other people,
Yes.
you know? But if he
Well,
says, go ahead, okay, I'm going to go, But and then at the end, in the locker room, it was so funny when we talked to among each other and like, oh, do you have that lipstick? Oh, can I borrow it? And we were going back to, it's not that lipstick is women, but it's feminine. This is just a cliche. I don't want to go there. But what I mean is that we were comfortable by being who we were. We are not
yeah,
violent. We don't want to fight. I did because it was promotion. But now I am who I am. Let's
I
have
love
a
it.
coffee together and let's have fun. There's this
Yeah.
thing that women have more and that I enjoy more. It's the capability of shifting according to
Hmm.
the situation, you know?
I love this. And you
That's
know what? My son was in karate when he was like 6, 7, 8. And one day he said to me, he was like, "You're always cheering for the girls. Like, why are you sitting here cheering for the girls so loud?" And I told him, and I said, "You have to understand, we aren't told that it's okay for us to be that physical. So it takes a lot of courage for them to be
Mhm.
sparring with guys who are in many cases bigger and
Yeah,
stronger. And so
yeah.
it takes a lot of courage. So yeah, I'm over here cheering for them. And who knows? Maybe I will see if all these things have stuck in his mind. He's hopefully going to be a lifelong feminist. But yeah, but to your point, it isn't just one way, right? You can
Mhm.
be tough in that situation. You can
Yeah.
be strong. You can be physical, and then in another
Tender with your
situation,
kids or other things. And
exactly.
yeah, this multifacet, that's what is for me the power of women in the
Mm,
multifacet.
I love that.
Really. Yeah, no, absolutely. So I share with that. Yeah.
I
Uh,
love your colorful, you have so many colorful stories. Your professor, your martial arts. You're a podcaster. You're talk
Yeah.
about multifaceted. I love it.
Yeah, no, but this is true because I've been doing podcasts for many several years, not many, but uh, I every woman every woman I interviewed, they are multidisciplinary, multicultural. There's always a plurality, and I
Hmm.
love it. I'm like, this
Hmm.
is what a human being should be, you know.
Yeah. It's a
So
very like passion
yeah, about
filled
different
way of.
things. I've touched
Mhm.
this, that. Look at you, you've been
Uh-huh.
doing also different things. So I love that. And the other thing is when you get older, as a woman, older, not in a negative sense. I would never go back to my 20s. I love where I am
No.
at. But
Same.
yeah, it's like you discover, wow, we are powerful. There's a
Hmm.
strength, there's something coming up that I really enjoy. So yeah,
Yeah.
I always tell my niece, you'll see when you turn 30, when you turn 40, you're going to feel much stronger than now in your 20s, because
Hmm.
there's always, anyway, that's another story. But yeah, I love to hear about women that I interviewed when they start talking about themselves. They don't think of talking about it in advance. But then when they talk, it's like, aha, you see, you have many tools in your toolkit, and you realize,
Hmm.
yeah, actually, I've done a lot. That's the beauty of
Exactly.
it, really. Yeah. So, as let's explore one thing. It's about culturally there are concepts, and that's okay. I'm not criticizing it. This is life. This is society changes and whatever. So, widespread concept culturally that don't hold the same meaning in in different groups, whether it's a cross generation, diverse background, where you come from, cultural background, you don't understand the concept the same way, or personal experience, you don't agree with the definition of this concept, and blah blah blah,
Hmm.
such as leadership, empowerment, consciousness. This is big concepts, but for me they are not big, they are very simple. So,
Hmm.
uh, what is leadership, for example, for you? When we talk about leadership, and for me, leadership is not limited to business, breaking the glass ceiling, okay? So, if I ask you, what is leadership for you? Oh, and women leadership, if we have to add it to women.
Hmm. And you're right. I think there's so many ways that you could define leadership that has nothing to do with business. And I can't remember the exact story, but leadership is also being the first person to say like, okay, I'll go, or I'll do this, and others will follow you, right? To me, a leader is anyone that someone wants to follow. And so you could be a leader anywhere in any context. And, it could be as simple as you're at an event and nobody is dancing and you're the first person to start dancing and then people join you, right? It
Yeah.
could be as simple as that. I think usually when we use the word, we mean something bigger and more significant. But to me, this what I want to see from women's leadership and why it means a lot to me is again like having that courage to say I'm gonna do this, right? I'm gonna do this even though I feel uncomfortable. To me, that is a real leadership quality,
Mm.
right? I'm not comfortable. I'm stepping into the unknown, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And I think as a leader, then you are creating a new possibilities and new confidence in other people who look at you and say, like,
An
maybe I can do
inspiration.
that too. Yeah,
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 exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
And we are hardwired to have that that inspiration be created when we see someone doing something that we know when they're afraid or they're still doing it despite their fear, and whether it's in war or
Mm.
corporate or something a completely different context. It's really about understanding that someone is taking a courageous action and you want to follow them.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, that's very nice. Yeah, that makes me think of when people ask me, because with my background in Zen, I have a tendency to use concepts sometimes that people don't particularly understand. But for
Uh-huh.
me, it all starts with oneself. And that's what I like about HQ, Hype HQ.
Uh-huh.
It starts really with yourself. So particularly lately with what's happening in the world, like this morning, I told a friend, well, the only thing that grounds me in what's happening because I'm very sensitive to what's happening in the world, what grounds me is why did I incarnate in this life for? you know
Mm.
and that gives me the rush, the adrenaline, or whatever it is, to, okay, I have to continue to do what I believe in you know
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
me, that's also part of leadership. Once you reconnect with what is really your calling, we all
Mm-hmm.
have a job, even if you do something you don't like, but it's a job. It's okay. Don't worry, but follow your
Mm-hmm.
calling. You know,
Yeah. Like your
that's nice.
purpose.
Yeah, yeah,
What is your
yeah.
purpose? And it is very mobilizing to really think about, okay, if I'm here for a purpose, I don't have the luxury to just sit here and be mad about what's going on and check out, right? I have to keep taking action. I think
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you
No,
said that
absolutely.
because yeah, me too. More than a little concerned about what's going on in our world.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for everyone listening to this podcast, and for women particularly, I would say, hey guys, if you want support, you know where to turn to.
Hmm.
Hype HQ. Okay. And yes, be in touch with your leadership, your inner leadership. I mean, this is the only way we can help this world. Okay.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to ask you, let's end this with uh, your links, to your network platform will be below in the podcast. But do you have any special events or things coming up you want to share with viewers?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know this may be seen at different times, but we do have a monthly networking event where everyone is welcome. And this next one is coming up on April 10th. And then I think the one after that is on May 8th. But in any case, all you have to do is just join our mailing list at hypehq.io, and you'll be notified of future events. And also, I would say follow me on LinkedIn, and again, I will let you know what other events are coming up.
Good. And on LinkedIn, it's your name or it's Hype HQ? Both, they can find you under both.
Yeah, you can find both. Probably I am more active under my own name. So yeah, maybe Polina Ruvinsky. And please do send me any questions, any thoughts, and yeah, and reach out and connect with me.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Paulina, for joining us for this questioning on networking and women. And please, please, guys, girls, yes, let's take it to another level, our leadership, women leadership. So, yes, join any group, join Hype HQ. And we'll see you again, Paulina. Thank you so much for being with
You.
us.
Thank you so much, Vivian. And definitely do not forget how powerful we are and as women. And um, yeah, use that power for good.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Thank you for joining us today for Women of the Wise Path. Continue the journey with more conversation, events, and resources at the address below. We'd love to hear from you and what you would like to talk about. Together, we're shaping a future rooted in wisdom, collaboration, and the infinite power of the feminine spirit. Until next time, may we walk all together the wise path, guided from within.